Hey y'all, you found us again, Heritage Ways. I'm Miss Katie and this is my niece Chloe, and we're going to talk a little bit about homeschooling in the high school years. So thanks for joining us. All right, well, I have invited my niece Chloe to talk with me a little bit about homeschooling in the high school years. No matter how many homeschool families you talk to, you're going to get that many opinions and ideas and suggestions. So this is just one piece of information, one little video that you can add to form, if you're just starting on homeschooling, to formulate your philosophy or your methods and so forth. It's just some opinions that, and Chloe's family has been homeschooling. We're going to find out how long, and then we don't do things the same, which is another reason why I wanted to talk with her to get different perspective. Because Chloe, we've got a lot of moms who've contacted me, and dads actually, one or two, who've messaged us, and they just have different questions. And I encourage them, don't just listen to what we say. Ask a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, that can also be overwhelming. So, you just have to take what you think is doable for your family, whether it's talking about curriculum or methods or ways to homeschool, and just decide what's best for your family and the way you learn as the teacher and your children learn, and then as a family. So you really have to take different resources and make your own philosophy from that. So Chloe, every home education family differs, which we've already said, in their reasons to homeschool, and each family's answers to questions may vary according to their beliefs and their mission, their purpose, or their goals. And so with that in mind, I do thank you for coming and sharing with us today with your parents' permission. At what point did your family decide to homeschool and why? And then we'll get into what grade you're in and that kind of thing. So at what point?
So I'll just kind of tell it like a story. I was in third grade. I have two younger brothers, and the second youngest was in kindergarten at the time, and our baby was just about to start pre-K, and we were all going to be at different schools.
I remember that.
Yeah, across the city after the littlest one started pre-K, and Mom kind of realized that she would be spending most of her morning in the car, dropping kids off, and most of her afternoon and in the car picking us up. And she said, you always have those busy days where you're like, oh, I'll just throw something in the crock pot. But she realized that every day was becoming one of those crock pot days. And
Crock-pot day.
yeah,
I know.
yeah. Another thing, of course, I said I was in third grade, so at this point I had been in public school for 4 years, and I loved school. I made so many new friends. I loved my teachers, and I had so much energy at school. But what would happen is, even though I loved school, I would get in the car in the afternoon, and I would just be grumpy and tired because I had been at school sitting at a desk all day long, and I would just be grumpy. And Mom, because I had given my best, I had put my best attitude, my best hours of the day, I had given to someone other than my family. So when I came home to have family time at dinner time, I would just be tired because I had been around people all day long. And I'm an extrovert, but even at a young age, Mom recognized how much, as much as I loved it, how much it was kind of draining me. And then you'd come home and we'd have dinner, and then at third grade, I would have homework, and Mom was kind of like, at third grade, you're just kind of getting the basics down at that point, and she already has homework, and so that was kind of my family's reason to homeschool. I wasn't really, because I was only in third grade at the time, in the decision process of homeschooling. It was kind of like, hey, Chloe, what do you think of this? And I was like, I was devastated. I did not want to.
Because you're a social bug.
I am actually. I got in trouble in kindergarten for talking too much. I was a social butterfly, and
well, that's the way God made you. That's my take on it. He made us all.
So, that's another kind of good side is, if your child does love being around people, and you're afraid that homeschooling them is going to like change that, and they're not going to get that interaction, because a lot of kids I know, they're homeschooled because they're not like that and they don't like being around people, and I totally understand that. But I do like being around people, and I get my energy from talking to people, and that hasn't changed since I've been
Okay, and I'm going to cut you off, and let's take that and go revisit that in a minute. You said two things. Number one, you mentioned something that I probably doubt you've seen in the video that I made, but I said the exact thing.
Did you?
The video is called, and I'll link it since she mentioned this, it's called No Need to Homeschool Because My Children Are in a Good School. It's gotten so many views, y'all. I didn't expect it to, and it has resonated with so many people. I don't know how many views, like 1,000 or 2,000. I think it's over 1,000 views, which blows me away that many people are sharing that video. So that's just a response to a question I had from a follower, friend, viewer. You brought up that y'all realized you were giving the best of your day to the school, which is true, and I bring that exact point up in this video, and a lot of people commented on that's so true, and they'd never thought about that. Even my own husband, even your daddy, is given his best hours to go to work. So, but in your daddy's case and my husband's case, they don't really have a choice. That's what they do. But we have a choice when it comes to sending our children away or not. In what grade are you now? Going into...
I'm going into my junior year of high school.
All right. And
so and I've homeschooled since 4th grade, okay. So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. This will be my 8th year of homeschooling. My family's 8th year.
All right. We can take different paths here, but let's see. Let's just go ahead and talk about the socialization.
Okay.
Why do you think that's kind of a fallacy that people say homeschoolers are not socialized? And it depends on the person. Some people may just want to hide up in their room and do their work, and that's fine. But if a family or a student is interested in, I'm never going to be socialized. Okay, can you speak to that?
So I'm just going to kind of go from the bits and pieces that I remember of my school. I went to a public school here in Middle Tennessee, and I didn't know any other socialization. So every day, because we were in 3rd grade, what else are we going to do? We're not studying, calculus. So we would always have show and tell, and I always felt like I got plenty of socialization in through show and tell, and then you have recess, and you have lunchtime, and ever since 1st grade, I've been involved in Girl Scouts, so I always thought, Girl Scouts is another really good way to get that kind of socialization aspect. I went to church on Sundays and Wednesdays, and so I didn't really know any other way. And then my parents, they sat me down and they said, after looking at it, and I kind of knew that they were thinking about homeschooling, but I didn't think they'd actually do it, because I was like, my parents aren't going to be like that. They're not going to go all radical, and we're going to have to, we're not going to like move out to the middle of nowhere and eat sticks and whatever and not have homework. Like, that's weird.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, when I first found out, I was devastated.
Eat sticks. Were you devastated?
I was little.
Because of the socialization?
Because
I never had a friend?
Yeah, all of my friends were at school, and I was like, I'm never going to see my friends again. They're going to forget who I am. And little me, there were tears involved when I had to tell my friends that I was leaving school. And that was hard, but then I was like, wait, I go to church with all these people. I'm still going to see them. And then as soon as that kicked in, I was like, oh, wait, homeschooling gives me more chances to do things like this. I now can do all these things that my parents wouldn't let me do before because I was going to be at school.
Flexibility and schedule.
That was, and then one thing that kind of changed my life forever was my mom told me one day, and this would have been in 2011, so I would have been 9, so I was probably 4th or 5th grade, and Mom said, hey, they're having auditions for Beauty and the Beast. Do you want to try? And
for what? Beauty and the Beast, okay.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast Junior, down the road at a theater here, and I've always been a fan of. Well, I wasn't really a Disney fan actually before this, and Mom was like, hey, do you want to try it? And I was like, sure, whatever, I don't have anything going on, I'm not doing a lot of school. So I did it, and I got in, and I was the egg woman in Beauty and the Beast, and I started doing theater. And Mom has said many times that she never would have let me do theater if I was not homeschooled.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the rehearsal schedule is
Yeah.
so crazy, and you know, I have friends who do theater, and that's a big socialization because you're with those people, you know, 3 nights a week on the weekends. I mean, and she was like, because sometimes, especially Tech Week, for anybody who's in theater, Tech Week, you know what that's like. You'll be at the theater until midnight, and so then my friends, they would be at the theater till midnight, and then they have to get up and go to school the next morning, and then have rehearsal that night. And so, yeah, the whole socialization is there's so many more doors that have opened for my family since we've homeschooled.
You know, your cousins, my big boys did theater, and of course I did theater when I love theater, love it. And I was glad that at least 2 of them enjoyed it. Well, 1 really. They could not have done it if they hadn't homeschooled either. I mean, just the homework, there are people who do. I just don't see how they do it, and it would have driven our family crazy. I'm just speaking from personal experience. We could not have done it, just like you said. You could not have done both. So that's a good way to socialize and get socialization. If that's what you're concerned with, you know, it's my opinion that it's possible. Get that word and that worry out of your brain, because it's more than likely, if you continue the activities your family has been doing before public school or private school or whatever, then your kids are going to be socialized. Address the fact that some people are concerned with the fact of, well, how do I keep my child on doing all 6th grade level, all 6th grade math, all 6th grade English, all 6th grade science? Can you address that concern? I have my opinions. I want to know what you say about it.
I would say, you know what? Don't worry about it. They'll graduate at some point, and it's just, my family actually never has worried about that, except when it came to math. My family has always struggled, limped along when it comes to math.
Girl, our friends know that, so have we. We've got a video about that, about teaching high school math. And how we got through it.
So the first year is always the hardest year.
Not grade 1. You're talking about the first year they
Yeah, the first year you start homeschooling.
They either pull their children out, or they haven't pulled their children out, but they're legally on paper starting homeschooling. Is that what you're talking about? Because in my opinion, you start homeschooling when they're born.
Oh,
you teach them to eat. I mean, you teach them to eat, you teach them to walk, you teach them to say thank you and not spit food at grandma. I mean, you're teaching them. That to me is homeschooling.
I guess.
So you're talking about on paper registered.
Yeah, the traditional schooling sense.
Okay, then.
And especially for my family, because like I said, I was pulled out of school, and so
you're going to talk about the different ways too, right? I keep interrupting you. You're not going to talk about anything if I interrupt you.
So
okay.
It was kind of hardest because I was used to, because my little brain was used to a certain way of doing school, and so but then we grew a lot in that year. Mom and I did, especially since I had one of my siblings at the time was homeschooling, and so that was just kind of a big mess. But then and then a couple years later, our family got involved with tutorials.
Okay. And tutorials, somebody might not be familiar with that word.
Tutorials for our family were like a blessing from the heavens, because what we did, it basically like co-op. And their tutorial for our family is we go once a week, and there's usually a teacher, and you go and you get your homework, and you can talk to other kids your age, and you have it's basically like if you went to a school for 1 day a week, and then the rest of the days of the week you were at home. And that has worked so well for my family, because we can have a basis to jump off of, and we don't have to look for curriculum. That's a big one for all of us trying to find, all these different curriculums for all these different subjects for all these different ages, and different kids learn differently.
Now remember, this is the way they do it, and it has worked perfectly for them. And in the video where I talk about the high school math, we talk about one of our children liked tutorials and grew from them, and the other one couldn't wait to get out of them and run way fast enough. A tutorial is basically, I'm going to boil it down, but it's where you pay for your child to go, and it's usually, or it can be, usually and slash can be all day. Like you can go, we got to pick the classes, or you can go to every class they offer. Okay, so it's a range.
Well, yeah. So right now, my family is at 2 different tutorials. My brothers are at one, and where it's all day, and the subjects are chosen for you. So they don't get to choose their classes. Their classes are chosen for them, and there's one teacher. My youngest brother, he has 2 teachers, but the middle brother has one teacher for all day, and he likes that because he has his friend set, and he has these friends that he hangs out
stays with the same people all
He
day.
stays with the same people all day, and so he's got the same friend set all day. I go to a different one where I get to choose my classes, and that has kind of worked for us, especially kind of what you were saying is making sure you get all your different classes in, because I can look at, basically when I was going into my freshman year, my family sat down and we were like, these are the credits you need to have to graduate high school. Let's lay out what classes you want, because I'm a planner, so I wanted to plan and make sure I got all mine in time.
Right.
And I like the one I go to because I can choose my classes. I have a different teacher for each class, which I really like that.
It's kind of like traditional school.
It is. Yeah, and like we said earlier, I'm the social butterfly, so I want to meet as many people as possible. I want as many different classes as possible so I can have the chance to do that. So if your child's like that, I would say go for one of those. And I really like it because I can kind of choose what hours I want to depending on when my classes are. So like this so
it's one day a week too.
It is one day a week. So in 9th grade, I took 6 or 7 classes. So I was there from 8 until like 3 o'clock. And that was tiring, but I wanted to get in as many classes as possible. 10th grade, I took 5 classes, and that was another long day. But now that I've taken a heavy load, those 2 first years of high school, in 11th grade, I'm only taking 2 classes.
Oh, wow. That's great.
I'm only taking 2 classes there, and I'm taking 2 classes at home. So that is so nice because I could control my schedule.
Yes,
and
good.
I really like that.
So a tutorial is where you pay, your parents pay to go. Now, a tutorial is typically more expensive than a co-op, generally speaking. And so you would just go and take whatever classes they offer, or all or some or none. I mean, all or some. And then you would pay, like a tuition. So a co-op is where the parents would participate. They would help teach. So I might teach XYZ class, and there may be some expense, but not as much because the parents are co-oping. They are doing the teaching. In a tutorial, they bring teachers in, maybe a professor from college. One is not better than the other, in my opinion. The tutorial co-op, we're not saying one is better.
It really depends on how your child learns, I feel like. Because the one that my brothers go to, it does sound like a co-op because my mom, she's going to start teaching there this coming year. And it starts from kindergarten all the way up to senior year of high school. So they teach all ranges, whereas the one that I go to is only from middle school and high school.
In yours, they bring the teachers in. It's not necessarily all parents.
No.
So that's the difference in that. So talking about having to be on the same grade level, if you're coming from the school system, or you were a public school teacher or private school, whatever, if you were trained as a school teacher, you're going to have that mindset, unfortunately. Oh no, little junior here has to be all on 3rd grade math, and he can't be, on 3rd grade subjects, and he can't be on, we can't do 4th grade science, and we can't do 2nd grade English. Yes, you can. This is Miss Katie's opinion, but I think it's right. Because people are different, and when I taught school, all of my 3rd graders weren't on 3rd grade everything. They all weren't on 3rd grade level on every subject. And back then, we sent them, we would break off. I don't know if they do it now, I doubt it, but they would break off, and Miss So-and-so across the hall would teach this group, and they were at this level, and this teacher would teach this group. It's because they were at different levels. I don't want anybody to feel like, how am I going to keep junior on all the same grade level in every subject this year. You don't have to. There's so much I could talk about that.
I was going to add something. So I never felt like my family has necessarily struggled with this. I will say we're filming this in May of 2018, and my tutorial ended a month ago, and I am still working on my math.
Bless. Our math DNA genes, like, somehow they're missing.
But I will say that's always happened ever since we've homeschooled. I've always done a math late into the summer. But
Us too.
if you watched the video where I talked about my favorite books, you know that I was when I was younger on a reading level and on a much higher level than my grade. So I was reading like high school level books when I was in 4th grade, but I was not. So that's okay.
Yeah,
like if
that's
your
what
child,
I want to. Yeah, that's
if your
okay.
child is behind, and I feel like that's kind of a good thing. I mean, it may be nerve-wracking for a parent who wants their child to complete everything on time, but it shows your child's strength, because if you're in a public school, then you're kind of average on everything, because you don't have you may have some chances with clubs and things like that to kind of excel in certain subjects and kind of back off on other subjects. But if you're homeschooled, you can use that as a tool to be like, I recognize my strengths, and I know I'm really good at this, and that kind of has helped me kind of decide what I wanted to do for college, because I feel like that happens a lot if in public schools. I mean, maybe this is just my speculation, so I don't really know, but I feel like if you're kept certain like average for most of your schooling years, you get to college and you're like, I don't really know what I'm best at.
Well, that was me. And I was a sophomore in college, and I thought, what am I even doing here? I came to find a husband. I already found who's going to be my husband. What am I here for?
It kind of depends on the child, at least for me, because I'm not a morning person. I'm a night person. So what I'll do is I will sleep in as late as I want, and I don't mind working in the afternoon, and sometimes even until dinner time getting my schoolwork done, sometimes even later than that. Because I don't mind staying up and working on my schoolwork.
That's another advantage.
My younger brother, he gets up like at the crack of dawn, and he wants it done at his schoolwork by noon, so that he can go outside and play. And so
that's an advantage, though.
Yeah.
Do you think you miss anything by not being in traditional public school? Good, bad, or ugly, happy, sad. Do you think you miss anything? Do you have anything our viewers might find interesting? I'm going
to go back to when I was in middle school and tell you another little story about middle school Chloe. 4th grade, like I said, was kind of a hard year for my family because an adjustment, but then I loved it. I realized how much I loved homeschooling, and I loved sleeping in, and I loved getting to do theater, and I loved doing all that stuff. But then I think it was probably 6th, 7th, 8th grade hit, and kind of the media kind of bombarded me with all these images, of kids going to school, and they were cool, they got to go to, their school formal, and they got to have lockers. That was a thing that when I was in 6th and 7th grade, I wanted a locker so bad. Like, I don't know why, I just wanted to have a locker, and I wanted that little lock, and I had friends who at the time were in public school, and I've got one year, the media is like, public school, and you've got a locker, and you sit in a cafeteria and you eat your food. And then in the other year, I've got all my friends who were telling me what a hard time they were having, an adjustment from elementary to middle school. And so I was kind of being tugged two ways, which basically meant I was just going to stick put, because I knew that my friends were having such a hard time in middle school, because that's a big transition to go from middle school.
Yeah, it makes me sad to see what a lot of kids go through during that transition.
Yeah, so kind of at the end of middle school, I and my friends now in high school, who I'm so glad I'm homeschooled. Like, and yeah, that's...
Y'all, your family, and I mean this, y'all have done so well. I'm so proud of my sister, your mama, and your daddy. But the daddies have to get to, or blessed by a job, and they go to work. But y'all have done so great. I'm going to ask the final question. How has it changed, positively or negatively, if that's the case, your family dynamic? if you think back?
Looking back is a funny thing, because when I was in 4th grade, I never could have guessed what a difference it would make. Because now looking back on my family, I mean, when you're in elementary school, life is idyllic. You know,
idyllic.
I mean, you don't know any other way, and you're just happy, you know, skipping through meadows or whatever. But now looking at, you know, the world today and how the world has changed since I was in 4th grade, and it kind of scares me how much the world has changed in just, you know, 10 years. I can't even say how my family has been changed, because this is funny, like, you love your family, but when you're homeschooled, you have to like them. You know, you're with each other every day, all day. And so if you finish your school at noon, then you're playing with your siblings, and you have to be nice to them because there's nothing else to do. And that changes as you get older, but like, you're with them all the time. You mean
it doesn't change that you don't like them? It changes that you...
Yeah, it changes that
love comes softly, as the movie goes.
Yeah. So when you're with them all the time, your attitude is a lot different. And so, I mean, just the bonding that has come out of it, because, yeah.
And your parents can impart their views, and no matter what the parents' views are or aren't. I said this in a video as well, that saying no need to homeschool your kid because he's in a good school. Whatever the parents' views, I mean, ranging from atheism to, you know, whether Judaism or Catholicism or Christianity or whatever, you have that extra time, that soil that you can plant that seed. So I really urge you to go watch that video that I've referred to at the beginning, but you that allows that time, walk along the way, you know.
And I've heard a lot of not a lot, but I've heard people, teenagers my age, who've talked to me, and they're like, "Oh, I could never homeschool. I wouldn't want to be at home all day with my parents."
Oh, that's sad.
That is, and it saddens me how often I hear that, because I'm like, I would much rather be with my parents than, you know, the people that, like, I mean, this may sound rude and harsh, but the people that you're hanging out with.
Well, like, and if they say that, there's other issues deeper.
There
are other issues.
But I feel like, I wonder what my life would be like if we hadn't started homeschooling and I hadn't forged that bond with my parents when I was younger. And that's why it's such a shocker, and when people say that, and I really, really think my parents, and especially that travel aspect, who you get a lot closer to your family when you travel, and you're in a car for 8 hours.
We'll talk about that in another video.
Yeah, you're in a car for 8 hours. You have to like those people, and it just helps if you're already homeschooled and you're used to being in small spaces with those people for 8 hours.
I'm tearing up. I mean, that's so sweet, because, and it's true, and I know how close your family is, and I don't know why I'm crying right now, but it just touches me, because there's not every family out there is close, and homeschooling is not going to solve a family who has the family problems. Homeschooling doesn't solve the problems, but my opinion again, it does a lot to help get toward resolution of a lot of things, either because you have to face them head on,
and kind of, you know, another thing that when I've talked to people my age, and I haven't talked to a lot of people who are like this, because you are who you hang around, but a lot of people, because I'm getting into those years of figuring out where you want to go to college, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I want to go as far away as I can." And it, you know, it doesn't matter where, I want to go somewhere. And for me, I'm planning to go to college right here in Middle Tennessee, because honestly, I don't want to. I mean, someday, you know, there are those moments where you need to fly the nest. I'm just saying that there's such a support system with being near your family, and like, colleges are really, I mean, at least from what I've heard, I haven't gone to college, but college is kind of a really hard transitional time, and I feel like if you've got that support system already there, that you can fall back on.
Be locally. And real quick, faith also has played a humongous role in your family's life, and that makes a difference too, whether you're
I don't think we would have started homeschooling if it weren't for our faith, because that was kind of not like it was a parachute. This is gonna sound weird, but Mom and Dad, they prayed for months and months before they made this decision, and they read a lot in the Bible about, being close to your children and, imparting wisdom on your children. And,
how else can you do that unless you're with them?
Yeah.
But it's not to say that public schoolers can't, but I've been down both roads, y'all. And it just provides a better opportunity when you're with the children. And our family encourages you to get to know the Lord and to learn about Jesus. And, if you're not a believer, that's fine. We love you and we want you here. But, pick up the Bible and just read about it, read about the life of Jesus. It's, encouraging. And our faith plays a huge role in our lives. So, thanks, Chloe. This is our third video with Chloe, actually fourth if you count the two wardrobe videos, and then the one we just did,
that's going to be a fun one.
About books, and so that will be uploaded before this one, so they will have already watched that one. Well, thanks for joining us, y'all, and we'd love to hear your comments below. We'd love to hear questions. That's why I make a lot of our videos in response to questions that we get. That helps to gauge what path we need to go down when we're planning what videos to make. Because I've got the perspective of being trained as a public school teacher or as a school teacher. Chloe's mother does not, and that's okay. But that's just, I'm saying, two different perspectives. If you have questions for me or for maybe Chloe and her mom. So thanks for walking life with us. We really appreciate it. We hope you'll check out some of our other videos, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hey y'all, we're back. This is Miss Katie from Heritage Ways, and we are here with, now you know her as, my niece Chloe. Thanks for joining us. Let's chew the fat a little bit. Do you know what that means? I thought I'd throw you off.
I'm like expecting you to say, let's talk about homeschooling. And you're like, let's chew the fat a little bit.
That's Do you not know what that means?
No, I've never heard that. It's so weird.
Okay. It means in country talks, country people, that means just sit and talk or jaw, talk. Just talk.
I get it now, but you
want to try it again? Okay, here we go.